Okay.
Got it. Nailed it. Boom. Easy breezy. You have to bring it a lot more difficult than that to stump us. Emad's taking a mulligan down to 6. He's kept his hand, however. He's happy. He's ready to go.
I mean, his name is basically pronounced phonetically.
But, you can second guess yourself there sometimes.
Oh, easily.
I call it the substitute teacher rule. Imagine how a substitute teacher pronounces that name. It has to be a disaster.
Not necessarily. Again, it's pretty close to phonetic.
How would you pronounce my name, Patrick?
Cedric Phillips.
Not Cedric?
Not Cedric.
You wouldn't do that? Well,
No.
most people believe that it is Cedric pretty quickly. And they get it wrong.
They
got it wrong all the time.
I didn't know this was airing out some personal grievances time.
All I'm saying is I imagine that Emad has had some people really butcher his name. That's all I'm saying.
That's probably true.
And most of them have probably been substitute teachers.
Okay.
Because they're terrible at names. It should be mandatory for the job to be able to pronounce names correctly. That's what I'm saying. Temple of Abandon. This is a little bit of pent-up frustration. You're right.
I can tell.
It also happened to me when I went to UPS 2 days ago. A grown adult called me Cedric. If you ever do that, we'll have a problem. Radical Mystic, powerful. Elvish Mystic, powerful. We're ramping into something nice.
A lot of mana, but as you mentioned, no Ugin, which is really the payoff card for this kind of matchup.
Yeah, Ugin has to be insane in this matchup, I would imagine.
Ivan, I would imagine, can't really win once it's in play.
No.
He has to win preemptively.
Mystic Monastery is land number 3. So Ivan's off to like a pretty slow, normalized start, but we've seen him go from 0 to 60 when playing this deck really quickly.
It takes very, very little. He already has Retraction Helix in hand. I don't know how much of the combo he has besides that, but that is not going to kill him that quickly in most games. Even with a lot of mana, it'll take him a while.
Looks like we're adding a bunch of mana. There's Nissa. This is a way to get the game over with quick. That's a 4/4. It's attacking for 4.
I mean, this is better than nothing, but this is still a pretty slow burn here.
Yeah, I mean, you're not impressed or anything, but I mean, again, it's just better than nothing
Right.
at getting the game over. I mean, you attack for 4 here, you attack for 8 next turn, you attack for 12 the following turn, the game's over.
Yeah.
So it's on Jen to actually put something together here. Now, as you mentioned, Retraction Helix is kind of a thing. We're going to see something here. Maybe God's Willing. Yep. So what's going to happen here is God's Willing, trigger the Heroic, makes that into a 2/3 blocker, which means that it can only trample over for 1.
Yeah.
So it saves himself some damage there. And there's a passing of the turn from Yahya.
And he may just want to just cast it to scribe this turn anyway. Again, he's playing against Green Devotion, so God's Willing, fizzling a combat removal spell or something of the sort, probably not coming up in this matchup.
Crater's Claws, Chandra, that's really it. There's Defiant Strike. Trigger Heroic, draw a card. Another copy of Defiant Strike.
Well, this gives him a clean shot to take out Nissa, which is very nice.
Yeah, get that thing off the table. It's a 4-power creature right now. I know there's a die there, of course, that represents 2 counters, but then Defiant Strike gives +1.
Yep.
And that's why the Defiant Strike is still there. Here's another Defiant Strike. So we're cantripping pretty healthy here, and this is going to bite the dust. Favorite Hoplite doesn't care about, of course, cards like Chandra. There's a Mountain. There's a Springleaf Drum. Oh, we're setting it up. Emad wants to take a look. It's all part of one big puzzle, my friend. It's a puzzle we saw Ivan establish and complete quite a few times in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
Yahya will draw. I believe also Ivan with another copy of God's Willing at the ready, just in case.
And what's so powerful for Ivan in this matchup is, at a moment's notice at this spot, he can just leave his Hoplite back on defense. And it's very hard for Ahmed to attack the way his board is right now.
A brick wall, basically. Looks like 5 mana going to be tapped again here. Let's see what this is going to be. It's all Whisperwood. Card had a breakout last weekend.
Yes, all over the place. And very impressive in these Green Devotion decks.
Haven't seen much of it this particular weekend, but we also haven't seen much Green-Red Devotion this particular weekend. Temple of Triumph, the draw here. That'll come into play here for Jen. You have to imagine he's on the hunt for Jeskai Ascendancy, namesake card of his deck. He leaves the card on top of his deck in the scry pretty quickly. Though he might be considering putting it to the bottom, he's thinking about it now.
Yep. Well, he really would like another creature plus Ascendancy plus Helix. We know he already has Retraction Helix.
Let's see what we have here this turn. Already tapping mana. Chandra time, perhaps. Won't be able to kill it, but makes it so something can't block.
Exactly.
It's probably way more important right now.
Because Ivan's trying to hang back on defense and use this hoplite to prevent big attacks from coming through, this is a pretty good sequence.
God's Willing is going to be pretty useful here if he's got it. Retraction Helix is actually what he has. Oh, we'll take a look here. Jen wants to make sure he knows exactly how this works. This creature can't block part of this card. Doesn't come up a ton.
Yep.
But in this situation, it certainly does. Now, I think what he wants to know is if you deal the damage, can the creature still not block? I think that's the question here. Because if he plays Retraction Helix, he targets it with the Heroic trigger with Hoplite. It makes it so that, okay, it doesn't take any damage. So I think that's the question. Retraction Helix does resolve. Helix is actually pretty good on this board too.
Yeah, I mean the attack's a lot more complicated from Emad's side of the table.
He wants to take a look at Retraction Helix. See exactly how that card works. What can you bounce? What can't you bounce? Target non-land, no surprise there.
Yep. Magic has never been made more fun by someone bouncing someone else's land.
Yeah. Depends on your definition of fun, I guess.
Yep. Some people don't like opponents ever casting spells, so that can be fun for that person.
What's up? You're in the booth with one of them.
Why do you get to play?
Yeah. What right do you think that you have to cast any of the spells in your hand?
You think if we both sit down, we just both get to play Magic?
Right.
All right, well, he's going to bounce the Whisperwood. Pass the turn back, because no good attacks either. So a pretty good turn there for Jen. Draw step time. It's another God's Willing. 2 of those in hand here for Jen. Weird draw for Ivan in this game, but his deck is just capable of some really strange draws.
Yes. This is the nature of the beast.
Yeah. Strange too, because he just has 1/4/5 back on defense. Excuse me, 5/6 now in the hoplite. It's like, well, you know, is this really doing all that much? It's like, well, yeah, it's road blocking him.
Right. So Chandra has some pretty odd wording. It says target creature and target player. And then it says that creature can't block.
Yeah.
So whether or not this hoplite can block or not, it doesn't matter if the Chandra actually deals a point of damage to the hoplite. It is at least one of the targets there on resolution.
Well, now the creature has protection from red, so the Chandra, that effect is counter upon resolution. So this will get the block this time. I would imagine.
I'm actually not positive that's the case because it says target player and then it says that creature can't block.
Sure.
So Chandra's activated power resolves. And I don't think it's predicated on whether or not you actually dealt damage to the creature. It depends on exactly what Chandra's template is, but I'm not sure. It's a complicated piece of the rules.
Interaction, yeah. Here's another Wishwood Elemental. Let's go to the end step. Well, with the no attacking that is taking place here from Emad, you have to imagine that the players are under the same thought process that, if a God's Willing is countering the Chandra effect, that the creature would be able to block. Otherwise, I think that Emad would be attacking.
Right.
So that's at least the impression that they're underneath. That's a good draw.
That's a big one. The namesake card of this whole deck.
You want to talk about confusing cards?
Yeah. When you cast a non-creature spell, do 3 totally disparate things. It involves a lot of tracking.
In a random order. Kind of.
In a random order of your choosing.
Yes. Sort of, maybe. Basically what this equates to is that Ivan has just gotten much closer to winning the game. He's not there yet because he only has 1 creature.
Right.
Which is what, again, has made his draw so strange.
And the retraction helix is also gone at this point. Had to be used for something else.
So what to do if you're Emad?
I mean, at this stage, even if Chandra is still allowing Ivan to block, he has enough resources here to start setting in attacks. And he's got to get a move on, too. Because the longer this game goes on, the closer Ivan gets to the one piece of the puzzle he's missing.
And it's not a slow win, it's a combo win.
Yeah, it's all 1 turn, so...
Yeah, a little conversation with the table judge. It looks like Yahya does have a question.
Could also be the same clarification on Chandra giving the creature in question protection from red. Is it able to block?
Oh, there's a very quick God's Willing. Trigger. I guess a heroic trigger too, sure, why not? Not a ascendancy trigger. Discard the island. Now it's a scry for God's Willing.
And I'm at 20 with a lot of spare knuckleheads in play.
Yep.
So I think he's just going to start sending some stuff into the red zone. Pretty good board presence right now, and you do not want to be giving Ivan this much time.
I think that's the last thing you want to do. Both these players in a very unfamiliar situation here, so when you're in situations like this, just dial up a blue shirt.
I am willing to bet that the call here is as it pertains to God's Willing and Chandra, and if the creature is able to block or not.
Sure. They are double checking right now, but what we do know for sure is that if you're rooting for the green-red devotion side of things, Emad needs to get this game over with. It needs to get over with quick.
Ivan's draw has fumbled around a little bit. It's taken a very long time to find his tendency. He's not had a lot going on. And Ivan's draw has been very solid this game. Good curve, a lot of power he's putting into play. So this is the winning recipe. If you're trying to steal game 1 of what you and I both believe is a pretty bad matchup.
I think so too, yeah. It seems like a very, very difficult matchup, so again, I think he's going to want to try to get this over with as fast as he can. He might just have to make some bad attacks.
Right.
Or what look to be bad attacks on the surface just to try to get it over with.
Even if you were to lose your Whisperwood Elemental inside of combat, you're dealing so much damage. You still have the 4/4 Nissa land on top of all of your mana creatures, a couple manifest tokens, Xenagos in play. There's enough resources left over here. And Ivan's only at 15.
Yeah, crazy to say only.
I mean, with the amount of power that Ahmed has in play, that 15 can go away real fast.
Yeah. You mentioned it. You block the Wishwood Elemental token. You've got the Nissa land, that's 4. Rattleclaw 6. Voyaging Satyr and Mystic are 8. 2 manifest creatures are 9, 10, 11, 12. And then you make a Xenagos token. That's 14.
Yep.
And that's not even to say that, hey, wonder what's hiding underneath those manifest tokens. We don't even know. Those could be real cards down there. So Jen's going to take a look here. This confusion rule. This very confusing ruling.
Cards with multiple targets, where some but not all of the targets are there on the resolution, introduces some complicated stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes some non-intuitive things happen. Like I said, I would not be willing to bet my life on it, but I suspect that Ivan's creature cannot block, even if he gives it protection from red. Because part of the Chandra activation does resolve, and it says that creature. But I'm not 100% positive.
That's what the blue shirts are for.
Yeah, that's what the blue shirts are for.
We are just gentlemen who commentate on games of Magic.
Right.
Well, they're going to appeal a ruling, which means you get to look at our pretty faces now, whether you like it or not. Because we're coming on back. Because you don't want to stare at that. We don't want to stare at that. We want you to stare at us. So you get to do that. Don't act like you don't. Don't.
It's a longer conversation.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not going to take that.
What do you want to talk about, man?
Ivan Jen and how awesome his deck is and how he always wins with it.
Yeah, it's perplexing, right? Because I think his deck picked up a little bit in popularity after the Oakland win, but before Worlds.
Yep.
I think that most people, myself included, look at Yahya Watanabe's list from that tournament as just the next step forward.
Sure.
Get rid of the combo altogether. When you have Ascendancy on check, you win most of the time anyway. So don't bother playing with cards that are only good once you already have Jeskai Ascendancy. That's Retraction Helix, and that's Spring Leaf Drum. To me, that was a big step forward. And most people who play various Jeskai token strategies, that's the list they do. I mean, they change some cards around, but that's essentially the same strategy. And Ivan, always the faithful servant. I walked past an open attached to the Seattle Invitational where he was near the top tables with that deck once again. And here he is doing quite well in this tournament as well. Really the only person I see at the event playing with the combo build of the Jeskai token deck.
Yeah, he's the only one that really does this sort of thing. The only one that's had a lot of success with it. He's also the only one to really put a lot of reps in with it, too. I think that really helps him as well. Now, he's got a little bit of a different version, some new cards here. Nothing crazy, a Monastery Mentor, a Soulfire Grandmaster, but it's an interesting build, and it has the ability to combo you. And if Granite Devotion is going to be huge, given what happened in Houston, it's a great deck to be playing.
Yes.
So I can understand where he's coming from with this option and this choice this weekend.
I think it has nothing to do with the metagame. When I see a same player who's playing the deck and wins it open with it, pretty big accomplishment, and then you see him at the next couple tournaments doing the same thing, I don't think he shelved it and said, oh, the metagame looks right. I think the best case scenario is this is something he's tinkering with constantly, probably at his local store, playing in FNMs and playing online perhaps. I don't think this is just random happenstance that he happens to be playing this deck yet another time.
Sure. We're going to go back down to the match right now really quickly. Take a look at the board, catch people up on things here so players can get a look at exactly what's going on. It's a crazy board as they wait for the ruling here. Again, Emad has basically just built himself up into a position where he might be able to get things done in just one big attack, but the card in question here is Chandra Power Master and the first line of text with the card, because it is obscure in this situation.
Yeah. Multiple targets. Some of the targets are available on resolution. One of the targets that is not available on resolution is referred to as that and not target is, I mean, you're asking for some weirdness to be happening.
Well, we're moving forward. There's a lot of devotion from this Nykthos activation. One thing we know about Green Red Devotion, it can generate a lot of mana. So now here's a Pelucranos. There's a Voyaging Satyr. When we have a ruling for you guys on exactly what did happen, we will of course let you know. Here comes Wishwood Elemental, maybe. Here comes some attacks.
And this looks like an exact lethal attack, leaving you back as much on defense as you can.
That means it's time to probably cast a Retraction Helix to stay alive. Yep.
And Ivan is making no move to block here from what I can gather. We'll see exactly how combat resolves. But if that's the case, the judge probably gave a ruling that was my suspicion with how it worked.
Yep. There's Retraction Helix. Going to bounce Whisperwood Elemental. Yep. The ruling is that it can't block. So there you go.
Woohoo! Still got it.
Is that, yeah.
Is
that what you call still having it?
Still got it.
Getting that right. Guessing and getting it correct.
Level 1 judge certified 2001. Thank you very much.
Very nice. Very nice.
I got game in all sorts of places you wouldn't know about.
You are probably correct. Congratulations to you and yours. Well, Well, Ivan's at 4. He's going to need one heck of a draw.
Right.
And he's not going to have it, yeah.
Emad played very conservatively. Perhaps not 100% positive exactly what's going on with Ivan's list, but best not to do anything too tricky there.
Which I think is smart. Let's not go too crazy.
I think he wants to make the push there. I think he's best served just going for lethal there, because you don't want to give this deck too many draws. For all you know, he's playing something like Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time and can assemble quite a bit in little time, but in any case, able to get it done.
So after a very complicated game number 1 with judge ruling involved, Emad Yahya is going to win game number 1 here over Ivan Jen. Green Red Devotion up the game over Just Guy Row combo. Let's get back to actually watching some Magic, talking about some sideboarding here. We'll start with Ivan Jen. He's got 3 Lightning Strikes, 2 Seeker of the Ways, 2 Erase, 3 Glare of Heresy, 2 Negate, and 3 Mantis Riders.
Really, really like Mantis Rider in this matchup. Green Red Devotion is not very good at locking up the air at all. I think it's a really valuable play for him to have in the matchup. I think the Lightning Strikes and the Seeker of the Ways, just some early aggression and some more removal, could be fine in this matchup too.
What do we got on the other side?
2 copies of Wild Slash, 2 Briber's Purse, 3 Reclamation Sage, 2 Nylea's Disciple, a Hornet Nest, an Arbor Colossus, a Cetessan Tactics, 2 Arc Lightning, 2 Outpost Siege. Very interested in Arc Lightning. Very interested in the 3 copies of Reclamation Sage and the 2 copies of Wild Slash as well. Interested to see if he goes into Arbor Colossus. Sometimes these Jeskai decks struggle to deal with big creatures. It also could be a good sideboard option. He suspects that something like Mantis Rider or Ash Cloud Phoenix is coming in. So it's not an intuitive card to bring in this matchup, as Ivan's not really messing around in the air game 1. He is a combo deck, but post-board Arbor Colossus gets a lot more attractive.
Well, hopefully our next 2 games a little more straightforward.
Man, people love
No
talking about
crazy
the
stuff.
rules. There are
Yeah?
some people who watch these kind of streams just for stuff like that.
Okay, fair enough. To each their own. Everyone tunes into Magic for different reasons. There are some crazy rule interactions, typically not in Standard. They want to make it straightforward, as that's kind of the format that people jump into to play the game. But we just had a weird one there.
Well, that has nothing to do with Standard. That has all to do... I guess Chandra's template is not the clearest.
Sure.
So, for example, if Chandra's template said, deal 1 damage to target creature and that creature's controller, that creature can't block this turn, God's Willing would make it an eligible blocker, because the only target is the creature with that template.
Yes.
So you fizzle the entire thing. But if a portion of it resolves, any text that comes after that references that or other stuff going on or random disparate outputs, those all resolve.
Level 1 judge. Look at you.
Level 1 judge. Well, lapsed level 1 judge.
Yeah, it's gone.
Previous level 1 judge.
Gotcha. All right, well, we're going to get ready for game number 2 here after all of those rulings and judge shenanigans. But before we do that, we will talk very quickly about something a little more straightforward. That's Dylan Donegan, the young master from North Carolina. He has his invitational token. It's available in quite a few places.
Yep. Anytime you register for one of our 20K Open Series events, like what we're covering right now, anyone who plays in a 5K Premier RQ or any order from StarCityGames.com in excess of $5. But this is a limited time offer, so if you want to get your hands on the Dylan Donegan Elemental token, play one of our large events or place an order with StarCityGames.com today.
New invitational token will be coming at the conclusion of the Season 1 Invitational. We, of course, got to crown a champion there. Give someone $10,000 and qualify for the Players' Championship like we did for Dylan at the end of Season 4. Don't know what the token's going to be, but it should be fun to figure out.
Well, you've been talking a while now that you think Monk, 1/1 Prowess Monk, is the savviest thing to be doing.
I think smart's one. If it's all about getting as much camera time as possible, I think that's what it's all. I think that's what you got to pick.
Not a bad choice.
I think it's an easy selection. See, I got kind of lucky. Goblin token.
Rabble Master gets put in.
Yeah, had no idea.
Pouring Outburst turns out to be a player in
Yeah,
Standard.
no idea
We're
that's
doing
going to
good.
happen. Yeah, fantastic. I got it because I like goblins or whatever, and Mog War Marshal, dial me up in Legacy. That's cool, Siege Gang Commander. Didn't expect these great things to happen with goblins. But I think the Monastery Mentor, you can put that in a couple different places, cross it out a couple different formats. You'll get your time in the limelight.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just good idea. But who knows? I could see someone maybe being like a Wingmate Rock token,
It's not bad.
right?
And
3/4 bird.
If you're worried about, well, how do I look on a bird? You need look no further than Derek Sheet's Swan Song token. Excellent token.
You look fantastic on a bird.
Looks great.
And likely this is not a bird that you will be making upset. I bet the Rock will be happy to have you on board.
I don't know.
You don't think so? Seems like a nice bird.
I mean, a Swan Song doesn't go beatdowns that often, and that bird is unhappy.
Well, I wouldn't be happy either. Get Derek Sheets off of me. So game number 2 is going to be underway here shortly between Jeskai Row Combo and Green Red Devotion. I feel like a small upset game 1 there. Bad draw, I think.
Definite. Well, Ivan got into this weird spot where he had to use some of his combo pieces on ancillary things. He had to play Retraction Helix in a couple spots to save a life. That's not very good for him. He never found a second creature to pair with the Springleaf Drum.
True.
Didn't have Ascendancy until it was a little too late.
He had to do a lot of scrying, too.
Yeah.
Got to see a decent amount of cards with his lands. His God's Willing. It's just, it did not come together.
It's the cost of Ivan's build. When Ivan doesn't have Ascendancy, his deck is way, way less efficient than the token builds of Jeskai Ascendancy. The upshot is he can kill out of nowhere, he can kill from a low base. He's a little bit more explosive.
Oh, both players are going to take a look at their openers. Looks like Jens is happy. Yeah, looks like Yahya is going to send it back. He's got to be able to interact early and often, so I imagine we'll see some mulligans from him.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, there's nothing to say that Emad's even that confident about what's in Ivan's list at that point. You saw some uncertainty, some hesitation with the way that the attacks were on the last couple turns of game one. So there also is, this feeling maybe he has to mulligan for something like Reclamation Sage. Maybe that's the feeling on his side of the table.
Yeah, perhaps.
Reclamation Sage really sweet against Ivan too, because not only Ascendancy, but Springleaf Drum is hanging out on that list.
Oh yeah, there's some targets. A little bit of time added back to the match here. We have judge rulings. Of course, you are granted extensions, so these players have about 28 minutes to do battle with. But it's been a good tournament so far for Ivan. Whenever I think of him, I just think of the dominant run in Oakland. Bad start today, but he's run off 6 wins in a row. He's got his back up against the wall right now, but I still think he's in a favorable matchup.
Yeah, I like this matchup quite a bit for him. His good draws, it's just going to be hard for Green Devotion to keep up. Game one there, you saw a bad draw. Didn't have Ascendancy until it was way too late.
Is Yahya happy? He is. Temple of Enlightenment to start off here for Jen. Top card stays on top. We'll send it back Emad's way. Looks like a wild slash to the draw step. Battlefield Forge, just a passing of the turn. An honest start here for Jen.
Well, you don't know that. A lot of instances in Ivan's list.
Could have raised the alarm.
This is a hand that looks like not a lot going on here on Ivan's side. Could have just ripped off Ascendancy there on the third turn if he had it. Did not.
Yeah.
Looks like a handful of Lightning Strikes and Defiant Strikes and so forth.
Real reactive.
Yep.
Oh, there is Voyaging Satyr. Jen, well, he's got a target for Defiant Strike now. And another one. Well, we'll choose a Lightning Strike here. He drew another Defiant Strike. Now it's time to draw. Retraction Helix. Thinking about casting a Springleaf Drum, but I think he thinks better of it.
Well, I don't think you just want to put a Springleaf Drum out there against a deck that could be packing Reclamation Stage. On top of that, it is a cheap way to trigger Ascendancy in the event that he finds it. So I think he's best served just keeping the drum in his hand.
Defiant Strike goes cycling again. Lightning Strike here. The old 1-2 punch. Oddly enough for Jen, if he just finds a card like Mantis Rider, he might just be perfectly fine.
Oh, I think Mantis Rider is an awesome sideboard card for this matchup. And as you mentioned, yeah, does not necessarily have to go off or even find Ascendancy to be able to win.
A Kron Crusader and Springleaf Drum.
Emad brought in, it looks to be Briber's Purse.
A little surprised.
Well, I think to me that's an indicator that he is not totally sure what Ivan's really up to.
Yeah.
Because this card does basically nothing against Ivan when he goes off, unless the board's in a really specific place.
There's the raise the alarm. Now we're getting to work. Take a draw. An island. An attack for 3. Just passing the turn. Yahya will draw. Looks like a copy of Pelucranos. The problem here, obviously, is he's stuck on lands this time. Jen will draw. A plains. He's got plenty of lands. Here's an attack for 3. Was the clock fast enough?
Well, an opponent who's not doing anything. And Ivan does have multiple copies of Retraction Helix in hand. So
Sure.
he can start putting Retraction Helix on a Chrome Crusader, making a haste creature, and bouncing, you know, Emmad's able to get something like Pelucranos or Corsair Crufix.
Well, there's Corsair. Top card, Nykthos. Let's go back Jen's way. Draw step, Jeskai Ascendancy. I think it's time for fireworks.
I think that'll do it.
Yep. Well, if he's moving this quickly, it will do it. There's Retraction Helix. Trigger, trigger.
Yeah, this is the whole combo.
Yep. Seen him do it before. He's going to do it again right now. So what this will allow him to do, Retraction Helix targets a Chrome Crusader. It gets a text grafted on of tap it to bounce something. He will draw and discard. This will untap, of course, thanks to Jeskai Ascendancy. And he's going to do this a whole bunch. Pick this up. Replay it. Untap it. Trigger. Pick it up. Do it again. You tell me how many times.
Yep.
You pick.
He's showing Emad right now. I can loot through my whole deck. I can make my creatures infinites.
And I don't even need to draw any more cards.
Right.
I've got what I need. And you have to imagine this is not the first time that Ivan's explained this to someone.
Exactly. And because of the line, more complicated rule stuff, because of the line break on Jeskai Ascendancy and the second paragraph, you can elect not to draw the card.
True.
Yeah. So you can just opt out
Yeah.
of that part of it. If you're worried about having to grow your creatures to a certain size without getting decked, you can always opt out.
Who wants to opt out of drawing a card? You kidding me?
Well, there's some spots where, you know, you need to make your creature so large that you would run out of a deck before the creature
I'd rather
would get large
deck.
enough. Rather deck out?
Yeah, I'd rather
I like
deck.
being a man of principles.
It's just that feeling of drawing a new card.
I know.
I really like it.
It's the same reason some class of players really love fetch lands. The feeling of I've thinned something out of my deck and now I'm drawing a new card just feels so good.
I like to shuffle.
When you draw a spell after you crack a fetch land, you feel like you did that.
That's right.
I did this.
I upped the percentage chance of me drawing a
I
spell.
would have drawn a Plains, but because of that Windswept Heath instead, drawing a Place made line.
Yep.
Best feeling in Magic. Not really. But for some players, that is the best feeling in Magic.
Oh, it's the best feeling. Plus, I get to shuffle in between. I love shuffling.
Yep.
This is fetch lands are perfect cards, as far as I'm concerned. You may game designer Patrick may not agree.
They are.
Don't get fired.
They're pretty rough.
Okay. Don't get fired.
They're a little rough.
Well, player shuffling up here for game number 3. We'll talk about Cardboard Crack very quickly here. 4 books, all available at Star City Games.
Yeah, the 3 books that we had before were so well received that we come out with a 4th, all available on paperback, whimsical, lighthearted, black and white Magic the Gathering themed comic strip. All 4 books available, $12.99 a piece. StarCityGames.com/cardboardcrack to order your copies today.
Good book. Great Twitter follow.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully a 5th book coming soon, because they're sweet. I'm a fan.
Very well received.
Absolutely.
Tough person to get a chuckle with out of a comic strip, but Cardboard Crack
Yeah,
does
you?
for me a good percentage
Yeah,
of the time.
you're like a wall.
Yep.
It's unbelievable, really. You're like a brick wall. With coffee and opinions.
Yep.
If a brick wall can be made with coffee and opinions, that would be you.
Mm-hmm.
Game 3, who do we like?
Ivan.
Yeah.
Ivan didn't even have a great draw that game. I know Ahmed fumbled around for a very long time, but I think even if Ahmed had a good curve, it still wouldn't have been enough to win that game.
Ahmed's going to have to be quick out of the gate.
Yes. And if he can cobble together a couple kill spells along the way, that'd be a big help too. If you can kill an early Chrome Crusader, that does a lot of the work.
Yep. Temple of Abandon starts game number 3. Mountain, Crusader, pass it. Now this draw is a little bit different here for Jen. You see 2 copies of Dragon's Mantle in hand.
And a wild slash right off the top for Ahmed.
Now here's the question. Does he know that you need to kill that card? Because when we watched Jen win in Oakland, a lot of people did not know that you got to kill that thing.
Yeah. And this is, you see Ivan now at 6-1 playing a deck that no one else really plays.
There's Dragon's Mantle. Wild Slash is going to go after that. Now, he won't get to draw a card, but he will get the token. And that might be all he needs.
Yeah, it's not a bad consolation prize.
There's an attack for
I'm
1.
sure he would have preferred to keep that. And you see in his hand there, he did have God's Willing and a Battlefield Forge, but I think he just expected, well, if he didn't kill it now, he doesn't have a way to kill it. So Ahmed paid off for the way that he navigated that. I think on the balance, you're better off just killing things, but given how Ivan played that turn on his end, worked out very well.
Elvish Mystic and Rattleclaw Mystic before passing the turn back over to Jen. Jeskai Ascendancy, the draw. Is he willing to play it now, or would he rather wait?
I think that Ivan would like to do everything in one turn if he could to play around Reclamation Stage. He may not have that luxury. And if he gets to untap with Ascendancy, you start seeing some real serious fireworks. It does not take Ivan that long to assemble the combo because he has so many cheap spells in this deck.
Ravage Highlands is the draw. Let's see what this spell is. It's a Courser of Crewfix. Top card's a Whisperwood Elemental. These are all things I imagine Ivan Jen is very happy about, because those are not ways to get Jeskai Ascendancy off of the table.
Yep. This was the big finger-crossing moment here from Ivan, just committing the 3rd turn to this Ascendancy where if it gets blown up somehow, he's in some real trouble, but the upside is high. It looks like he's likely to untap.
There's Nykthos. Trigger the Courser, gain a life. 3 mana. Maybe more. Just another Courser, though. Passing. All right, Ivan. Do we have a crazy turn? The mad scientist, as he's known amongst his friends in the Bay Area, is going to go to work here. First, going to start with a Springleaf Drum. Draw and discard a copy of Mystic Monastery. Now he'll use another drum. Draw and discard, we'll see. Plains was the draw. He'll discard Plains. Let's see what's next. Dragon's Mantle. A lot of triggers, of course. First things first, draw and discard with Ascendancy.
And Ivan's just burning through so many cards this turn.
Discard an island. Untap. Draw a card with Dragon's Mantle. I hope. There we go. Picked up another Dragon's Mantle. Looks like it's an attack. What's always fun to watch, too, with Ivan is how much he's willing to commit. Because he could play a Dragon's Mantle that turn.
Yep.
But he always picks his spots on how much he wants to commit. You see Whisperwood Elemental the draw, and now there's another one on top of the deck here for Yahya. There's Whisperwood, which will allow Yahya to actually manifest with Whisperwood, which is pretty adorable. Here are some attacks, but not dealing a ton of damage here. Not an irrelevant amount, but not a ton.
Yep, this is a pretty slow clock. Probably 2 turns away from a kill, and that's a lot of draws for Ivan.
So there's an attack for 6. God's Willing. Trigger Ascendancy. This, of course, allows him to untap, discarding a Shivan Reef. Just trying to get through his deck. suppose can just eat the Rattleclaw Mystic. Scry here with the God's Wing now. Leave that card on top. That's always scary. Yeah, so he's going to block there. He'll take 4. Now I'm dying to know what the card is.
Yep.
There's the Manifest Wishwood Elemental. Top card here is Genesis Hydra. That could be anything, and he's got a Nykthos out there. So if you're Ivan Gen, you might want to try to get it over with now.
Yeah, and it probably involves a Crow and Crusader at this point too, because he needs to generate a bunch of haste creatures along the way.
Mantle. Defiant Strike was the card he drew. Some triggers here. That was a blue card. Gets to draw a card from the Mantle, so long as he does remember. And he does. Temple of Enlightenment. Two mana. It's Meletis Astronomer. Four copies here for Jen. So that's in now. And all he can do is pass the turn back, so nothing too crazy. There's a Courser.
Well, he may be planning on playing a spell inside of combat to try to manage some of Ahmed's board.
Interesting. Genesis Hydra, the draw. You count the devotion here. It's a pretty healthy amount. You can see a pretty large Genesis Hydra here. Could be for 10.
But is there anything that gives some immediate impact? I mean, making a 10/10 is totally fine.
Reclamation Sage.
Reclamation Sage definitely
I think
counts.
that's the best draw.
Yep.
Genesis Hydra is, by my count, 2, 4, 6, 7 is what Nykthos can make. 8, 9, 10 with Elvish Mystic. So it'd be for 8.
It's a lot of looks at it.
Yeah. I think you got to look for it, too. If Jeskai Ascendancy isn't on the table, this game gets a lot easier. So there is your Hydra. Three, 4, 5, 6. Surprising not to see him go for 8 there.
Yep. I agree.
Is there any good reason to hold back?
I'm taking a pretty conservative approach here in a number of spots. Wanting to leave mana up and blockers back, but I don't see a big reason not to just go for it all.
We'll take a Xenagos with him. Hope to shuffle the deck, and then we'll see the top card with Courser in just a minute. So it is a 6/6 Hydra out there. Top card, Wooded Foothills. So put that in play. Trigger Coursers, Genesis Hydra again. So next turn he's got the opportunity to do it again.
Yep. Assuming there's a next turn.
Yes. Not sure if that's a safe assumption or not. Then he goes, of course, in play with 3 counters. Could make a Satyr token if you'd like. Though there is that Whisperwood Elemental in play, which just caused a little bit of a problem here, because I imagine that Yahya would rather draw the Genesis Hydra, but he's got a Manifest.
Yep, for sure.
There's your Satyr token.
And he does have the out here of just using a Wooded Foothills to shuffle the deck. Now, that doesn't guarantee that there's a Genesis Hydra the next turn, but it at least gives him another look at it. Again, all this is assuming there is a next turn.
Looks like there'll be a sacrificing of a wooded foothills here.
Which I like here, just because if the big draw next turn is Genesis Hydra regardless, you do not want to be manifesting it.
Yeah. There's a mountain.
And there could be some other big stuff to potentially manifest too. No, we could hit Pelukros now instead, which is quite a bit better.
Pelukros is good.
Yep.
I would be happy if I were Yahya in that situation. Let's take a look at the top card. Forest. That's fine too. Don't want to draw one of those. Now he needs to figure out what he can do. And the entire time he's sitting here, he's got to be terrified because he saw what Jen's deck can do when he gets all of its pieces. So, of course, he naturally wants to try to get the game over with as fast as he can. So there's the attacks. Here's Defiant Strike, trigger, trigger. Jen looks like he wants to try to get some of this stuff off the table. So first is the Heroic trigger there from Lettuce Astronomer. Didn't find anything. Now here's the Jeskai Ascendancy trigger. A Crone Crusader is the card he found. Now you get to untap. Now you get to draw from Defiant Strike.
All very simple.
Simple, straightforward, easy stuff. So Lettuce Astronomer's going to eat that.
Really basic Magic interactions here.
It's all stuff that Ivan Jen has mastered, that's for sure. There's a Manifest. Top card, Wild Slash. That's way better than it looks. Let's go Jen's way. Let's see what he draws. I think it may have been a copy of Raise the Alarm. That's an interesting draw.
See, I've been sit up in the seat a little bit. I think he knows this is kind of his last shot at it.
Yep. He's got to be worried.
Emad's got just a ton of power in play.
Secret of the Way, easily the worst card in hand. Here's Raise the Alarm. That'll trigger Ascendancy. Time to draw and discard here. He's going to get 2 Soldier tokens, of course. See what he found. Retraction Helix.
That ought to do her.
I think so.
With a Crow and Crusader left over.
Like, if he's not sure and,
Yeah.
and he's not moving fast, I'm not sure. There's nobody who knows this deck better than Ivan. So there are the Soldier tokens. There's maybe the Helix. And that should be untapped because of the Jeskai Ascendancy. So now there is Retraction Helix, Trigger Heroic, among many other things.
Yep.
Doesn't find anything off the Astronomer. Can draw and discard with Jeskai Ascendancy. Picked up another copy of Jeskai Ascendancy. He'll discard a Crone Crusader, so clearly he feels he doesn't need that. And it looks like now he's going to do some explaining. Here's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
So we bounce. So we put back down. Trigger Ascendancy. He'll draw and discard. He'll untap everything. Now he's going to have a ball.
Yep. Still needs to do something about the board that's in play.
That's the big issue.
Well, if he eventually finds a second copy of Retraction Helix,
Okay.
then one of the Retraction Helixes goes on the other token,
Okay.
and then that can start bouncing Ahmed's stuff in these loops
Sure.
and clear out his whole board and then go from there.
So here it looks like another Jeskai Ascendancy. We'll see.
I think the second copy of Ascendancy does it as well because there's a second untapped trigger rolled into all this, which gives him the luxury of bouncing one of Ahmed's permanents in this loop.
Sure.
So he gets to clear out all of his blockers and then attack for lethal. So now he has the cushion where he can just plow through everything and be good to go.
You see the explanation taking place. Discard a Chrono Crusader. Replay it. Discard that one.
Yeah, I've been saying I got it.
I think what he's trying to do, because I think what he's trying to do at this point, he needs to generate a way. Yeah, he needs to generate a way to pick up more cards. So I'm going to keep doing this. He's obviously looking for something specific. I think that's the only reason you're seeing him play it out right now. And he's elected to keep Dragon's Mantle instead of another Ascendancy. So maybe the card he's looking for is just Retraction Helix. You might be right about that.
Yeah, I think it's just another Retraction Helix, and now he gets it.
Now he's found it. And now he's going to explain further. I'm going to play this here. That creature doesn't have Summoning Sickness. Now I do this. Now I say pick this up. I replay this. Bounce, pick you up.
Now it starts.
Now it starts. Yeah, now the entire board goes away. There's the extension of the hand. That's a W yet again for Ivan Jen playing Jeskai Heroic Combo. Wins this match over Emad Yahya. 2-1. He's 7-1.
Very impressive. Lot for the second day. Very good start. And you saw in the post-board games there, I'm adding a couple cards, like the Briber's Purse, for example. Doesn't really play a role in this matchup, as you saw the way that Ivan eventually goes off here. And I think that part of Ivan's edge is he's regularly playing against people who don't necessarily know the nuances of what his deck is up to, are boarding in cards or leaving up cards that aren't necessarily effective. And now 7-1.
He's the only one doing it, and he's doing it well, as he always continues to do here with Jeskai Heroic Combo. Congratulations to Ivan Jen. He is 7-1 here. For Emad Yahya, he's 5-1-2. I think he can still make day 2. Record's a little blurry there.
Yes, I think if he wins next round, he's definitely fine. And if he draws next round, he's also still fine. 5-1-2. Same number of match points as 6-3.
Okay. Fair enough.
Or excuse me, no, that's not. No, I'm sorry, that's not
If he
true.
wins next round, he'd be 6-1-2.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine with a win.
Yeah,
Excuse
if
me.
he wins next round 6-1-2, he should be good to go.
Yeah, it's the third draw.